I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass, and I'm all out of bubblegum.
I'm gonna make him an offer again.
Of the juggernaut, bitch!
It's not a tumor.
You're tearing me apart, Lisa! I have had it with these motherfucking snakes on this motherfucking plane!
Two tricks at the same time.
I am the law!
When you play the Game of Thrones, you win. You die.
Oh, no, not the beast! Not the beast! Ah!
Hello and welcome to Geek Speak. We are live coming to you from Mega Powers Radio. And tonight we have a very special episode. Tonight we check out the first part of the epic movie trilogies set in the fantasy world of Lord of the Rings. We talk about the Fellowship of the Rings, and our featured film of the week will be The Hobbit, An Unexpected Journey. Alrighty, so if you guys want to call in and join us on our conversation, please hit us up at 760-512-7247. All right, so first off, we're going to jump into Fellowship of the Ring. So I'm going to start with you, Mike. What did you think of this film?
Okay, well, I think if we're going to be talking about Lord of the Rings, one of the things we also have to take in consideration that Lord of the Rings was this huge franchise long before it ever became a film series. And I was fortunate enough, what I would be considered to be the last generation to be able to get into it purely as a book before it became a film series, because I believe the film started production when I was at the tail end of high school. And then I think it may have even been, what year did Fellowship of the Ring? That was 2001. 2001, yeah. Okay,
so
actually, I was in high school. I just started high school, so okay, yeah. I remember checking out the books when I was in elementary school, junior high. So yeah, that was right before those movies were made. And when I read them back then, I was significantly more into them, specifically the Hobbit book. I really enjoyed the Hobbit book. It was a quick story. It was really enjoyable. I enjoyed everything that was inside it. I like this world of these little monsters and orcs and back and forth of good and evil that was there. I haven't read anything quite like that up until that point in my life. When I started getting into the other three books, I felt it got a little too expanded, and there was a lot of filler and fluff, and I couldn't get into them as much, but I still really enjoyed the first one. And when I heard that they were finally going to be making a film series, I still enjoyed it, because when you think about it, a lot of movies these days are made of books or some other previous property, and I'm talking about in the last 10 years. But then it happened, but it wasn't as common a thing as it is now, and especially to go into something that was so beloved. I mean, I don't think there's any existing book property that you could touch now that hasn't been turned into a movie that people could get as excited for as Lord of the Rings was at this point. So it was the perfect time for this to happen. Peter Jackson was a gamble for them to put in charge of these movies. He was still a little yet unproven in Hollywood. He's gone back and forth. I mean, if you go check out Meet the Feebles, you can understand why he was this really twisted director, and I'm shocked that they would pick him for something like this. But man, he ended up being the perfect choice. At this point, I couldn't see it going with anybody else. So I'm glad it well worked out that way.
You guys got to look at the budget of this film. I mean, everything from like the costumes to the settings. Where they film it, like.
Well, also one thing I think is they did fantastic with this, and we were speaking a little bit before we went on the air here, and I want to make a lot of parallels with this series and Star Wars, and I think it would be impossible not to do that anyway. This movie came out just around the same time as those Star Wars prequels had come out. And of course, there are these really grandiose stories with these beloved characters that people had already known previously, so you have to do this right. You can't screw these up. And where Lord of the Rings did right in a lot of things is the exact same places that Star Wars got wrong in a lot of places. Such as the big thing that people complain about with Star Wars is there's just too much CG. Everywhere you look, everything's done on a blue screen. There's nothing real going on there. Lord of the Rings, while it uses a significant amount of CG, it's always just to accent something or to show the scale of Mordor or the fortress that they're inside or whatever it may be. For the most part, when you see something, it's using a lot of practical effects. The sets are there. When you see they're in a dungeon and there's, creatures hanging skeletons hanging from the walls or vines wrapped around it. That's all there. That's something that they had a crew painstakingly sit there and build. And some of the other effects even that are practical, like I think my favorite part of the whole movie is just in the very beginning when they're inside, not Frodo's house, Bilbo's house. And the whole thing they're doing with the size differences of Gandalf being huge and Bilbo being tiny, and also being inside this house that was at this weird scale. There's a lot of work going on there that, as a filmmaker, I could even watch and be like, man, how the hell did they do that? And of course, after watching the behind the scenes, I could see it. But it's an excellent camera trick that they pulled off there. And one of the reasons that I could really appreciate that film, and we'll talk more about The Hobbit later, but I didn't see it as much there. This film still had that, and I can appreciate that very much.
What I loved about the film is they brought the Shire to life. You know, they opened up the film in the Shire, and it's like, if you read the books, you know, Tolkien goes into great detail what everything looks like. So when I saw this in the film, everything just looked exactly the way it was supposed to, like the way it looked in my mind. And again, they did a fantastic job again with the costumes and stuff. I think they made like thousands and thousands of pieces of armor, handmade chainmail. Like every weapon you see is like fully detailed. Nothing is the same. Each weapon was made specifically for like that orc or that character, you know, all the elven weapons and stuff like that. So there was a lot of detail put into this film, and I really appreciate it. As far as the story goes,
that's a little different with this. And that's what I wanted to make as my biggest point. This film is a technical masterpiece. Yeah. But as a story, oh my goodness. You know, I'm gripped up until the point epic. I would say it's epic. I would say up until the point where they get to the Elven City, and that's where I don't know what happens, but it hits this plateau and then it just drops, and it becomes less about this story of this world being in danger and being taken over, and more about here's these goofs that you're supposed to care about more than the fate of the world.
Well, I think that's from the transition from the book to the movie, because like they had to cut out a lot of stuff, like a lot of stuff that explains everything about the world, because the world of Lord of the Rings is very, very, very complex, and there's a lot of going-ons, and there's a lot of lore behind it, where the book explains a lot of the stuff that, you know, they can only make it up to like a 3-hour film. You know what I mean? And like when you see in The Hobbit, the Hobbit's cut it into 3 parts, which I think is perfect, which I guess they couldn't really do that with these films, but they had to condense it down. Yeah, I mean,
Jesus.
But, you know, I think they did a very good job with, you know, displaying what they had to get across for the first film. Although, you know, of course the film ends in kind of a cliffhanger.
Well,
so.
As it should.
Yeah, as it should, but it really is like, it's so epic, and then all of a sudden they get there and it's like, over. Credits roll. Like, what?
No, well, I think as far as and one of the things we're trying to do tonight is see how effective these movies are as being the part 1 of a trilogy. I think this is absolutely effective. I think we got a good chunk of the introduction of what the situation is, who is involved in this situation, who our bad guy is, why we don't want this bad guy to succeed, what the stakes are for what they're doing. I think this is all clearly displayed for us. But then I think after all that was displayed, they kept going for too long with this journey that they're supposed to be doing. I think a lot of the stuff that went on at the tail end of this movie should have been put more into the second movie.
You know what, though? But it really was supposed to be like, the journey is supposed to be like a perilous journey across the world and moving slowly. And there's supposed to be a lot of shit that happens.
Well, I'm just gonna say that I wanted to spend a good amount of time praising it, but we've already transitioned to the point where we're being more critical of it. And one person who's been quiet about this, and I know it's because he is not a fan, it seems, at all of this. Travis, please, I want you to get some time in here too. What do you want to say?
Wow, I don't know where to
begin.
Take
a deep breath, Travis.
Well, here's the thing. I really don't know. Before we went on the air, I was just going to unload about how much I can't stand these films. But I thought, should I be nice about it? Should I just rip it a new one? Or should I just be honest? So I thought, I'll just take the honest approach and everything.
Take the honest approach and rip it in half.
I mean, I know you guys really enjoy these films. I mean, and that's great. And for all those who are listening to us on Mega Powers Radio or listen to the archive, the thing is, if you love these movies, more power to you. Me, I think these films are shit. And I'll tell you exactly why. Everybody says how epic they are. I know they painstakingly made these sets to make it look like it's in Middle Earth and everything as it's being described in the books. I understand this. But for the most part, a lot of the effects you see in the movie, whether it's special effects in terms of like any magic spells or the scenery, people say how epic it looks. To me, it's just about as epic as playing a video game. I really don't see what's so special about it. The characters, well, it's hit or miss with those characters. I mean, I have to admit, Gandalf, that is pretty nice of a character. He's a wizard, does a lot of great things. But I haven't seen this movie in 12 years. I've only seen Fellowship of the Ring only once, and to be honest, that was one time too many. I sat there, I was bored. It dragged on and on and on. I didn't really see anything redeeming about it. And it was just something I just had no enjoyment with. And, I mean, at one point, I even thought about just walking out of the theater and just going up to manager and say, hey, I'm sorry, this movie is trash, give me my money back. But I thought, no, I paid my way in, I'm going to give it a chance. And I did. Not only that movie, I gave all three of those movies a chance. But we're talking about Fellowship of the Ring. We'll talk about the other ones in some sequent episodes. Continuing. I really didn't think the story was that epic as people make it out to be. I mean, yes, I've never read the books, and at this point I don't have any intentions on doing so. But again, this is something I just don't like. This is something that's just not for me. I'm not into fantasy, like fantasy stories. I'm not into like fantasy video games. I'm not into stuff like that. It's just not for me. And what I took away from it is a sense of not, I would say being ripped off. I mean, that's not the case. The movie obviously made its budget back by tons because it was such a tremendous success. But watching the film, I just kept seeing myself like, when is this going to get better? When is it going to get better? I'm waiting. By the time I keep saying to myself, okay, it's going to get better, the credits roll.
So what did you expect from the film when you went into it?
I'm going to be honest, I bought into the hype. Everybody's saying how great the film was. Like, okay, I'll give it a chance. Maybe it might be pretty good. I just sat there and, like I said, I was bored. And when it came to the Two Towers, I fell asleep. I fell asleep through half of the movie.
Mm.
They are really long, drawn out movies.
The Two Towers is absolutely. I can work with you on that one. Two Towers.
That's filler. That's a filler movie.
Yeah. We'll dig more into that one another day. But as far as this one, something I wanted to go more in depth on that you brought up was the characters of Fellowship of the Ring, because the team that we're meant to follow, we got 9 people on this team alone, not to mention all these other people popping in and out in various parts of this movie, the story, I should say. And inside this 9, I don't really care about any of them, to be honest. I shouldn't say any of them, but very few of them. Gandalf, absolutely, I care about it. Gandalf is definitely the most badass person in the whole movie. It has the coolest personality, the most impressive set of abilities through it. Gandalf is who this movie should have been a little bit more focused on.
Well, the thing with that is he's not really like a main character. He's really just like, he's the backdrop. He's the guy who helps everything along.
Doesn't matter. He's badass. He should have been more in it.
Oh, yeah.
Aragorn is another guy I'm getting kind of into.
I can't stand what they did with Legolas.
Legolas is a goof. I don't know why anybody cares about him.
Doof.
All the freaking all the hobbits suck. I mean, I know they're trying to make us get behind Bill. I keep getting them mixed up. Frodo, but I just can't do it. He just seems like a little whiny baby, and I guess he's being brave at other times. But for the most part, I'm just seeing a little whiny baby. I mean, this is Spider-Man 3.
He's not brave, and you know what? That's
a
not
little hobbit
fault. That's how the character was written. he's a bitch. Oh my god! Through the books, they make him look even more brave than he actually is in the books. It's terrible. What an awful character.
I fucking hated this movie so much.
Some people I did like. I'm trying to be more positive. I liked both wizards. Both Gandalf and Saruman were both pretty cool. I enjoyed the scene of them battling. I thought that was one of the better scenes of the movie. Who I actually did like was the head elf dude, the guy that was played by the guy from The Matrix, Mr. Anderson. That guy.
Oh,
yeah.
Hugo
Weaving, that guy. The facial expressions he was making when the hobbits were popping out of the sidelines to jump into the group. Oh my gosh, those are fantastic. So
you're just waiting for him to put on the sunglasses.
Yeah. he was enjoyable in this movie. His hair.
Yeah,
oh
but
my
Saruman,
goodness.
yeah. Saruman played by Christopher Lee.
Mm-hmm.
That was, that's a pretty good role.
Yeah. They made a very good side by side and what's the word I'm looking like a juxtaposition to each other, because you had Gandalf, who was a little bit more relaxed, and he had his floppier hat and his staff was made of just gnarled wood. And then you had Saruman, who had his hair straightened out. He looked a little bit more haggard because of his beard was a little bit more torn up, probably from like a stressful life or something like that. And then he had that really menacing looking staff that was pointy and had the orb inside it.
Well, he's the White Wizard. He's like the Wizard of Wizards. He's like the top dog of the wizard colony people.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Gandalf, he later on, obviously, he becomes the White Wizard. But he really isn't like a top wizard.
So, from what I'm understanding, there's just different colors of wizards?
Yeah, there's like the,
I know
brown
in the Hobbit,
wizard.
the Hobbit we had Radagast the Brown.
Mm-hmm. There's the blue. There's two blue wizards. There's a red wizard.
Now do these colors represent what kind of powers you have, or is this like
what you look over and stuff like that? And Gandalf the Grey.
He looked over fireworks.
Yeah, I don't know. He's like the guardian of man, I think, like people. Like he looked over. He looked over the dwarves.
He couldn't have two important responsibilities if he said he was just going to sit around watching Frodo all day.
Yeah, pretty much. But he's very concerned with the world happenings. He's like the UN.
Okay.
Wouldn't go that far, but okay.
What other characters were there? Arwen, she's okay. I like Arwen. She's a pretty girl, and I think she showed some cool, brave moments in here. She becomes a bigger deal later on, but it was a nice little short introduction to her. Man, you know who I don't like, though, is that Princess of the Woods or whatever it is? You know what I'm talking about? Remember they go into the woods towards the end of Fellowship of the Ring, and they get captured by those elves, and they bring her to, like, the Lady of the Woods or whatever her name is?
Right.
Yeah, I don't like her. She did nothing for me. She
Arwen though, Liv Tyler, she looked good.
Oh hell yeah, she did. That other girl, I don't know what her deal was, and I noticed there was also this one point where Frodo offers her the ring, and she goes into that insane mode where she like goes all blue and her eyes get super bright. And I think they have a different actress there because her jawline completely changes and it gets super thin. Yeah. I don't think it's the same person because I was like, wow, she looks a lot hotter like this than she does in the other scenes.
Yeah, let's talk about Gollum or Smeagol.
Well, he doesn't play a very big part in this movie. Really, the time that you get to see him is during the torture scene.
Yeah,
which apparently offended a lot of people. From what I understand, there was a lot of people who rallied to have that scene cut out of the movie.
Oh wow, rally for torture scene. Oh my god.
You know what though? As a character, I love that character because he just has this split personality, and then like the way they do the camera changes, and then like you have the good Smeagol and then the evil Gollum, and it's just so creepy. He's just so creepy. Every time I see him, I'm like, oh, get that shit away from me. So
yeah.
So that was the Fellowship of the Ring. So let's talk about the so they go back and then they made The Hobbit,
Yeah, many years later, after they made the initial trilogy that they made for Lord of the Rings, they decided to go and revisit the prequel book to the story, which was The Hobbit. Only instead of just making one movie for The Hobbit, well, hell, we can make 3 more movies and make 3 times the money.
Which is great, which is a good idea because...
for the shortest book, let's make that into 3 whole movies. Yes, that's...
You know
that's
what, though? I feel like they couldn't do it.
Out of it.
They had to do 3 movies because they had to cover the 3 Lord of the Rings books. But I feel like if he had the resources, if they let him do 3 movies for each book, I think it would have came out better.
Well, here's something they also did, and this is why I can appreciate why they stretched out to 3 movies. They're really not just doing The Hobbit. They're doing mostly the story of The Hobbit with influences from the Silmarillion and influences from the other 3 books of things they didn't get to fit in there.
Yeah, but like with the Unexpected Journey, I feel like that was ripped straight out of the book.
There was a lot of stuff there that's from the Silmarillion too. I mean, the whole what's his name is from the Silmarillion. He's not from the Hobbit.
Who?
The fucking the dwarf guy.
What dwarf guy? All the dwarfs are from the Thorin?
No, not Thorin. The one that they meet. I can't fucking remember his name. I don't remember all the names are the same in these damn movies.
Thorin, Bilbo, Thorin.
Thorin, Balin, Dwalin.
Oh yeah, I can differentiate all these names.
Bomber, Philly, Killy, Oin, Gloin, Nori, Dory, Ori.
Yeah, that.
Oh my god, I feel like I'm a freaking kindergarten.
That one, yeah.
Jesus.
That one. I didn't like him.
He smells of sour milk.
Oh man, you know what though? I like Bilbo. Bilbo is one of my favorite characters in the fantasy thing. He's so much better than Frodo.
I loved him in the book, and I think that's why I preferred The Hobbit over the other books because Bilbo was such a more fun character to get behind. His curiosity and also his smart aleckiness when someone like tried to piss him off. He wasn't a Hobbit who was going to be pushed around.
No, and he didn't want to go on the journey. He didn't want to do it. He didn't want to do it, just like Frodo. But like. Frodo sat around for 33 years before he decided to go on the journey. They didn't explain that in the movie, but anyway, in the Hobbit, he jumps right on it, and he's not like a warrior. He's not like he's not like the dwarves, but he'll fight for them as best he can, and he does, and he succeeds in a lot of ways. And I love that about him. And you could see the progression of his character just throughout this first film.
I don't know if I would give it that much credit. But I do enjoy Bilbo significantly over Frodo. The problem, I think, with the original Hobbit movie that they made here is too much other things. Too much exposure on time spent with the dwarves. I mean, they're getting freaking songs and things like that. There's no need for the dwarves to be singing.
There was songs in the book.
Yeah, but they don't go that in detail with it. I mean, they just write a quick song there, and it's like, oh, okay, they did a song. We don't need actual whole bits where they're throwing bread around and...
But that's what they were doing in the song. In the book.
Doesn't mean you put it in a movie.
And besides, they turned into some sort of like Broadway type thing.
I loved it. I thought it was a perfect thing to put in the movie. I mean, you guys, all right, Travis, go ahead, rip it apart.
No, you go ahead. I'll save it to when you guys wax fantastic about it. Go ahead.
No. Go ahead, Travis. I'll get into it after you go.
Okay. Here's the deal. We had to watch this movie, as we all know. And first of all, I lucked out because Netflix and Redbox did not have the movie for instant streaming. I was like, shit. Thankfully, we have a video store. My head was hanging in shame, walked in, and sheepishly asked, do you have a copy of The Hobbit? Yes, darling, it's over there in Sci-Fi.
What?
She said, loud enough.
They're like, nerd.
She announced it for everybody to hear, and I was like, thank you. And by the way, you can rent it for $2 and keep it for 5 days. Gene, okay, thank you. I can find it, thank you. walk over there. I was like, oh, great, The Hobbit. Walk over to the counter, plunked my $2 down that I'll never see again. Drove home. Put the movie in. And I'm thinking, oh, God, I'm going to fucking die. And, okay, maybe I'm getting a little too exaggerated with it, but the fact is, I only watched the first half of the movie, and I was like, I can't stand this movie. And I took it out and I watched Mystery Science Theater 3000 instead for the rest of the time. But from what I've seen, it almost mirrored that of Fellowship of the Ring. I will give it that. And I think, that's what they're trying to do. And the same thing happened with Star Wars, with both trilogies. They kind of mirrored each other in their own respective episodes. It was, I will rally behind Bilbo. He is a much more likable character, I think. Of all the Hobbits, he's definitely the most likable. Only because I think Martin Freeman's an awesome actor. I love him. Mm. But that, and also had, what's this other actor? James Nesbitt, who a lot of people know him from the TV show Jekyll. These are the two characters that actors I really cared about. Did not help me finish the movie. I will say, technologically, I should say, it looked a bit prettier in terms of all the effects. But for me, it was just more of the same. I couldn't stand it. Period.
Craig's upset.
It stinks.
I'll tell you this much. If I would have had much more enjoyment going to the dentist, having each tooth drilled, having a root canal in each tooth, then having them pulled, while also having a guy taking a chainsaw to each one of my limbs, hacking them off without any kind of painkiller, I would have had more enjoyment with that.
Oh.
Wow.
Oh.
Sorry we made you suffer so much.
Yeah, I guess we know what the topic for next week's show is.
Lord of the Rings.
But seriously, I'm okay. Yeah, I was going a bit too extreme there. I apologize. But the point is, I just didn't like it.
I don't blame you, man. Unless you have a previous attachment to the series, I could see it being tough to get into this, especially if you're not a fan of the fantasy genre. These things are basically the most generic form of fantasy you're going to find. It takes no outside risks to this. As a matter of fact, that's something I wish the Lord of the Rings had more. A little bit more variety of what it is. Where's something like Western or steampunkish in Lord of the Rings? That would be really cool.
That would have been more fun seeing that.
Yeah.
But
that would totally destroy what they were going for.
Well, that's true, but it would have been a much more enjoyable film. I could have enjoyed the heck out of it, but that's just me, of course.
Yeah. But nothing really goes on in this movie. It drags and drags and drags, and you keep getting teased and teased and teased. The best part of the whole movie is in the last 10 seconds when you finally get to see the freaking dragon, and then it ends.
Well, that's not the point of the first movie. The point of the first movie is to get them going on this journey to save the dwarves' riches and their homeland.
But to be honest, I don't feel like the stakes are there in that movie. I think we should have seen more of the dragon, or at least seen the dragon at all, I should say, and seen it making some actual destruction rather than it just sitting there and sleeping. And
dude, the orcs and the wargs and all that shit, like that, just that's going to make the climax of the dragon even that much more epic. Fighting, what was the orc guy? What was his name?
Ching Chang. I don't know.
The horrible.
Yeah, that.
Yeah. And then the goblins. You know what? One thing I didn't like about it was the Goblin King was they messed that scene up a little bit. It was different in the book. But it was interesting.
Like that fat shit guy? Yeah,
he's like, there's nothing you can do about it. And then fucking Gandalf slices him with a sword. He's like, or that. I was like, what? I don't know.
The only thing I can say for this movie is the last 10 seconds makes me interested in finally seeing the second one, which I guess is ultimately the idea of what a first movie should do. So, hey, props for that. But other than that, I would say skip this movie, even if you're a Lord of the Rings fan. Stick to the original trilogy. I think this degrades the overall trilogy by existing a lot like the Star Wars prequels. So.
I disagree. I say check it out. I say definitely check it out. If you're gonna watch the Lord of the Rings, watch the Lord of the Rings. But if you're into the Hobbit, definitely check this out. It's not required to watch the Lord of the Rings at all, but it's a good film.
Well, that begs an interesting question. Like, it's a similar question a lot of people have with Star Wars. Now, when all these movies are out, what order do new people watch them in? Do they watch them in the order they were made, or do they watch them in the chronological order?
If you do it in chronological order, that ruins the experience, I think. You have to watch the original trilogy first, because that way when you go to watch the originals, you kind of see what kind of builds up to the fourth episode. I fucking hate calling it episode 4. I fucking hate that.
I watched Return of the Jedi first.
That's weird.
Okay, you're going to start with a very, very down note and try to... Okay.
Going backwards.
Well,
and we're doing this.
And a mistake that I think they make a lot of times is when they make these prequels, they make callbacks to the original film. So a lot of times if you're watching the prequels first, you're not going to understand those, which is a silly, silly thing to do.
Yeah.
It was interesting when I was watching The Hobbit there, they had a bit of a throwback by putting Frodo in there at the beginning. He's only in the movie for about 5 minutes.
That. They shouldn't have done that.
There was no reason for that. And
I guess familiarity. People are familiar with Frodo. They want to get people. I don't know.
Freaking Hollywood.
Yep.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, I know I'm really harsh in these films. I mean, and I'm sorry that I come across as harsh, but I mean that's another thing too in terms of the fantasy world itself. This is another reason why I don't like Dungeons and Dragons. It's the same type of thing. It's just something I'm not into. And Game of Thrones, I haven't given that a chance yet, but I did promise my cousin Jamie that, oh God, I'd watch the first 3 episodes.
Oh, it's so different, man. I mean, this is less about wizardry and look at elves and stuff like that. Like all those things are there, but it's more about the drama that's existing inside that world. It's a completely different experience from Lord of the Rings.
Okay, but I did promise her I was going to watch the first 3 episodes, and then she said, "And after you watch the first 3 episodes, tell me how much you hate it." It's like, all right, okay.
I'm telling you, you probably enjoy that. Well, you definitely enjoy it more than Lord of the Rings, but
that's definitely on Netflix, isn't it?
No.
I'm not sure.
No, I don't believe HBO has any kind of deal with Netflix.
No, because they got HBO Go.
All right.
Yeah.
I guess I'll have to go find someone who's got a copy. Oh, Christ.
No.
I'm telling you, man, that's a good show.
All right.
It's not, don't go into it be like, it's not fantasy, really. I mean, it kind of is, but it's not.
Okay.
I mean, but, just like we were saying before, like how Lord of the Rings is so generic, Game of Thrones takes a lot more chances. I mean, for 1 second, you're going to be in this world that's all like generic fantasy of wizards and stuff like that. And then the next you're brought to a scene where they're in the desert and there's these like Viking looking ships and there's barbarian type guys. And then another scene they'll switch over and then all of a sudden they'll be in something that's a little bit more steampunkish or maybe something that's a little bit more oriental themed. Like it's all over. It's a lot more variety to it. And I think that's what makes it a little bit easier to accept than your typical fantasy story that you'll see put out there.
Okay. All right. And in that case, I'll go into the much more open mind.
But there is still all the typical fantasy elements. There's wizards, there's dragons, but there's also there's zombies, there's giants, there's whatever else you might want to see in there.
Don't forget gay wiener.
There's gay wiener, there's incest, there's beheadings,
there's lots of titties.
There's fucking peasants, there's kings, there's freaking everything you can imagine. There's betrayal, there's brothers, there's fucking everything. I like it.
Okay.
I'm not going to go on for 5 hours about it. I just can't wait for freaking March. That's when the new season comes out. So I've recently been getting into that point where it's like, okay, we're about halfway between seasons and I'm getting that real itch for it to come back. But March is coming. March is coming.
Oh, God.
So, guys, you want to take a quick break here and then we'll come back. We'll just shoot the shit for a little while.
Yeah,
it works for me.
All right, fellas. We'll be back here on Geek Speak Live on Mega Powers Radio after we take a short break. We're back here on Geek Speak Live on Mega Powers Radio. We just spent that first bit there talking about the first part of the Lord of the Rings trilogy, and man, that was interesting, huh? We have very differing opinions. We got Craig here absolutely loved Lord of the Rings series. Travis, the completely opposite end of the spectrum, who hated it. And I'm in this like odd spot where I liked the first Fellowship of the Ring movie a lot, but then an Unexpected Journey, I thought that was dumb. So weird.
Nice little differing opinions.
Yeah. Indeed. So now we're here in part 2 of the show. And we're just going to be talking about whatever the crap is going on in the world right now. And I got a couple of things I wanted to bring up here. First off, I just recently made a investment into a new piece of equipment, the Hauppauge HD PVR 2. I had what's that?
Well, I was just asking, what do you think?
Well, I had the Model 1 for a number of time now, and I liked it. It had this weird bug with it, though, where whenever my screen went to black, it would freak out. And I wasn't sure if that was with the thing itself or if it was the software. I think it was the software, but either way, with the HD PVR 2, I got new software. The software alone is absolutely fantastic. The UI is a lot better. The options with it are a lot more customizable, and it doesn't seem to crash or slow down as much. And I don't have that problem with the black screens. So fantastic for that. The footprint on it is significantly smaller, which I really love, so I can actually leave it set up on my entertainment stand. I don't have to take it in and out of my drawer whenever I want to use it. I can just leave it there and it's good to go. Having the HDMI port is fantastic. I mean, having to work with component all the time is not preferable. I am a little bummed though because the PlayStation 3 does not work through the HDMI without a workaround. I have to go through the component still, so I have to drop that down to 720. But there is a workaround I can do. I have to buy some other pieces of equipment, which I'll invest in sometime after the holidays. But for now, I have to work with 720 with that. But the Wii U, I can run through it in 1080, and if I had an Xbox, I could do that as well. So awesome device. I'm happy with the purchase. I got it for a very, very good price on Black Friday from GameStop. So one of the few good things they actually did put out there that day. And I think I'll be happy with it. I think it'll be a worthwhile investment overall.
I wonder if it'll capture PS1 games.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh yeah.
It'll capture anything.
We had trouble capturing that with the other one.
We did have troubles with that one. That's correct. This one doesn't seem to have those odd issues where, like I said, the first one had those problems with the black screens or anything that was really blocky. It would kind of freak it out. This one seems to just be smooth. Doesn't seem to have any of those issues. Because if you remember, the same game that we played, that PS1 game, when we played it on the PS3 that was running through the HDMI port. No, it wasn't running through the HDMI port. What was it running? The component. It worked fine, but when we tried to run it through the PlayStation 2, which was going through the composite, that's when it was freaking out.
Yeah.
Actually, I found a way around that since I have the HD PVR 2.
Mm-hmm.
You recall when the very first Let's Play I did for Sewer Shark?
Mm-hmm.
I had the component cables for the Sega Genesis and Sega CD, and I ran it into my DVD recorder. And then since this thing had HDMI output, I was able to run that into the HD PVR 2, and that's how I was able to make it look as good as I could.
Oh, fantastic.
Mm-hmm. A lot of work, but it paid off very nicely.
That's a similar idea of what I have to do to get the PS3 to work. I have to run an HDMI to DVI port into a converter, which I will use to convert from DVI back into HDMI, and then run that HDMI cable into the HD PVR. It's ass backwards. But it has to do with the copyright protection that's on the PlayStation 3.
Right.
Which is just kind of dumb. Xbox actually has a similar thing, but it only enables it when you're watching a movie. So when you're running Netflix or something along that nature, for some reason, PlayStation 3 just keeps it on all the time, and it makes this a much bigger hassle than it needs to be. So that's kind of a bummer, but yeah, whatever. C'est la vie. Sometimes you got to work around these things and deal with it.
Yeah, I think you'd have problems with the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One too. I don't know if you can capture video with those.
I haven't done any research on it, and I'm not exactly jumping to get either of those systems, so I'm not worried about it right now. I'm just worried about what I have.
Right.
Yeah. K-Wing actually did a little instructional video of how to set it up. You actually have to buy some extra equipment, but the equipment itself is very cheap. So if you have a PS4 and this is something you want to do, go check out his video on his channel. And there's some workarounds around it.
It's probably very similar to what you had to do with the PS3 because it's probably got the same copyright protection on it.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure that you could capture video on the PlayStation 4.
Well, they have that direct thing where you stream with it.
Yeah. stream with it. Yeah.
I think they abandoned that because people were doing illicit things, so they kind of put a hold on that for Twitch.
I think it was just for one game. It was that game where you're using the screen, whatever that's called, the camera. I think it's one of those. Maybe it was a packing game, maybe it wasn't, but it was basically a thing where you're using the camera, and it's kind of like the old iToy games where there's bubbles on the screen. You're actually using your body to press the button. One of those types things. But rather than people actually pressing the bubbles, they would, do other stuff.
Naughty.
Yeah, just think of like what the hell was that thing? Chat roulette. Bringing it back to the chat roulette days.
Oh man, sometimes you gotta sift through the cocks to get something good.
Yeah, absolutely.
That
reminds me of the conclusion of South Park's excellent trilogy that they had involving Black Friday and the PlayStation 4 versus the Xbox One debate.
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic. I think it's the best trilogy they've ever put together. And when you compare it to like Imagination Land and The Coon, I think this was really solid and actually kept me interested all the way through it, as opposed to the other ones where I usually petered out by the second episode.
Yeah, I thought the second episode was the best one, though.
Yeah, but I liked a lot of the continued thing, especially the guy, you can't stay out of my garden, talking about betrayal.
And then he left the shit in there.
And just this whole battle of PlayStation versus Xbox One, the way that they displayed how fanboys act, it's perfect. It's like, that's just how Xbox people are.
It is, though. You know what you get for a pre-order? A dick in your mouth.
And then it all ended with Cartman raising a stick in the air and a promotion for the new video game, which I am actually interested in playing.
Yeah, I love that part. They totally made fun of themselves with that game. Well, it's supposed to come out March, right?
Sounds about right.
Yeah, but who knows?
I
mean, that game was supposed to come out like September.
Most games seem to get delayed today. I mean, when it's out, I'll get it. I'm not really concerned when it is. It's not like I'm gonna mark the date in my calendar and cross off the days or anything. But when I see
you might not like it.
I might not like it because it is an RPG, so that's why I'm only mildly interested into it. If it was more of like an open world game, or it wouldn't be an open world game, but if it was like a platformer or something like that, I could probably get a lot more into it. But the fact that it's a turn-based combat game, I might not be into it.
Oh no, I love it. I think it's gonna be awesome.
Yeah,
I think it's gonna be like Mario,
RPG,
Paper Mario,
or Paper
with
Mario.
South Park.
Could be. I don't know. I only saw the write-up that they had in Game Informer. That was like a year ago. That was a long ass time ago.
It might have been over a year ago now. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's that. What else is coming out that I'm looking forward to?
Amazon.
Oh gosh, yeah. They Amazon had this new thing that they said they're going to be debuting. They said possibly by 2015. They're calling it Amazon Prime Air. And what the basic idea of this is that they're taking the drones that is all like controversial right now with the way people are using drones. They want to use them rather than for bombing or spying or anything like that. They want to use them to deliver packages to your front door. So from the shipping facility that Amazon has, they hook up a small package to this drone. It flies in the air and will fly directly to your house, so it skips any routes or any human problems that it might have like that, and drops the package in front of your door and then flies away. And that's the process. And it's supposed to enable shipping in as little as half an hour from when you order something.
Damn!
Yeah.
Damn. They took my germ.
They took my germ.
Seriously,
but right now, obviously, there's a
lot
they have to overcome to get a system like this in place.
Oh my God!
They have to get all type of agreements from the FAA, but they said they're very hopeful for it, and they hope to have this actually in effect in major cities by 2015.
They sent my Lord of the Rings trilogy to Afghanistan.
I also heard that UPS is going to be doing the same thing.
Well, Amazon is UPS. UPS is Amazon.
What if it crashes through your window?
That's the thing, especially like big cities, like where sudden gusts of winds come through these streets sometimes. Who's to say people aren't going to grab one of these things and steal them?
Yeah.
Like, I remember seeing a political comic and someone wrote about it, like where people are just standing in the field hunting them and shooting them out of the air. It's like, what'd you get? It's like, oh, I got the Full House box set.
Sure you didn't read this on The Onion?
No, this is legit. You go to Amazon's website, they have a video. And that's what I thought too. I was like, is this for real? And I was like, no, this is like actually on their website. This is what they're going to do.
Oh my God. You said what? It's implemented in 2015?
Well, there's no guarantee on that, but that's what they said.
God.
They hope to have it launched by. They have a lot they have to overcome. I mean, the FAA alone is going to give a lot of regulations they have to put in place to have something like this. And
yeah, I can't see this working. I just see a lot of broken packages.
Well, I'm sure it's going to be a process to perfect. And the commercial that they showed for it, the concept video, I guess I should call it, is they just put them into these. They look like tackle boxes, and then they hook up to the bottom of the drone, and then they fly off with it. I was like, man, I hope they get something more protected than just a plastic box.
Oh no!
So you're telling me I can get the whole Monty Python's Flying Circus box set in a half hour after ordering it?
How many drones are they going to release? I mean, how many? Think about how many packages people buy off of Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, the sky will be filled with drones.
I think that's why it's called Amazon Prime Air, because it's going to be for the Prime customers.
It's probably going to be expensive.
Oh, it's probably going to be expensive as shit.
Yeah,
that's good. I mean, you look at how much it is just to get something overnighted. Can you imagine getting something done with this? You're probably going to be paying more than the actual item you got. But
probably
it's something.
Like maybe $50, and that's just insurance.
You know, it would be kind of cool though to order something and then just like go outside, smoke a cigarette, and wait for it to come. Like, there it is.
Man, I already watched all these pornos. I need something new. Yeah. Oh, okay. There we go. Guess I'll just drink a beer in the mirror time.
There's my drone.
Big booty bitches 7. All right, here we go.
Oh man, I'm just trying to think about that because what I'm most worried about is, well, actually, there shouldn't be so much of a worry. I mean, if they deliver the packages in a half hour or so, I think. Because I was about to say, well, what happens if you're just not there? I mean, what happens?
Oh, well, you don't have to be. It's not like it's waiting for you to sign the package. It just drops the package and bounces. There's nothing going on there.
How does it drop it though? Like how far?
It goes to the. No, it comes to the ground.
It lands.
Yeah, I mean these things aren't huge. I mean these drones are the size of maybe like a. What can I compare them to? Like a baby pen. That's how big they are.
I can see people like sitting out there ordering something and shooting at the drones, like in the South. Just for fun.
But the thing is, though, these drones actually carry your packages inside these plastic tubs.
Yes.
I've seen that. So, what is this? Waits there to you to come to the door and then?
No, I don't think it waits at all. I think it just drops it and it bounces. That's it. Like it puts it on the ground and then it takes back off and heads back to camp because it's got other deliveries to make.
Fair enough.
But I mean, I don't know. This is all just concept right now. This could even just be a joke, just some kind of publicity stunt. But whatever. I think this is the future, and I think it's something cool that we could see if worked on, and if they can implement it in a way that I'm not going to be afraid of walking around the street and all of a sudden one of these things is going to fall on my head. Then excellent.
So they can do this whole thing with drones delivering your packages, yet we still don't have any flying cars. Interesting.
Actually, we do have sort of flying cars. I got this magazine in the mail the other day, and there's this. It's kind of like an electric / gasoline powered car, and it's one of those like three-wheeled weird looking cars, but it's like a helicopter too. It's like $300,000. But yeah, you could be sitting in traffic and just take off.
Okay, I'm sure. I'm sure no one's going to have any problems with that. Not the police or the FAA or anything like that. They're just going to completely let you do that.
No, I'm sure you got to. I don't know.
Probably got to have a pilot's license.
You got to have all kinds of probably. Yeah.
And you probably can't. Yeah, I can't imagine you could just take off anywhere. I'm pretty sure like there's no fly zones all over the fucking place.
Yeah, there's no. You probably drive it to an airfield and then fly.
Well,
it
what the
around.
hell's the point? Just get a plane.
It's a toy. It's a toy for rich people.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
You know? There's some ridiculous stuff. And then they got these little like drone flying things, these little like remote controlled helicopters that you control from your phone.
Oh, that was only a matter of time. I mean, we've had little remote-controlled helicopters for ages. I mean, I got one for my birthday last year.
Yeah, but this thing is cool, you know?
Oh, it's neat that they made it able to control from that. What I really think is cool with those, too, is they make the ones that have little, like, GoPro cams on them, so you can fly around and take video wherever you're going with it.
Yeah.
Those are fun little toys. You don't even need to be rich to have one of those. You can get one of those for, like, $50.
I could see somebody getting in trouble with one of those GoPro helicopter things.
Oh, yeah, let me just fly this over Stewart Airport and see what I get.
Yeah. See what my neighbor's up to.
Well, I would appreciate it as a filmmaker to get like some cool flyover shots.
Yeah, that would be cool.
That's exactly what I was thinking, too.
But you got to make sure that the camera is good. Like,
It's just got to be good enough. You know, if it's got a little, funky look to it, you can just add a filter to it, and it's like, oh, well, it's a flyover shot. Of course it's going to look like that.
Yeah.
Put a lens flare on it or something. It'll hide it.
That would be cool.
One of those tricks of the trade.
They're not expensive.
No, like I said, you can get one for like $50. Preferably, what I might even do is get like a really good copter, and then actually get a real GoPro camera, and then strap it to it myself. That would be the ideal thing to do, rather than going with one of those ones where they put like a really crummy cell phone camera on it or something.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great idea.
But yeah, it's got to be strong enough to lift one of those GoPros. And they're not particularly heavy, but, those helicopters are super light, and they're made super light for a reason. They don't have great engines on them.
Yeah, but that's why the one that we're talking about has like 4 helicopter things on the side. It's like a flat board with like helicopters.
I will let you guys know that there is actually this one company I work for. I can't really say the name. Well, no, I can't really.
U.S. government?
How'd you know? No, actually, there's this one company I work for that sells these helicopters that have built-in cameras.
Oh.
And they would be perfect for aerial shots for, like, if you were making movies or anything like that. It's really nice.
Are they out of China?
I'm willing to bet they are.
Okay.
Send their stink bugs back to them.
Yo, which is funny, I was just looking at a stink bug. Like, literally, as you say that, I'm looking at the stink bug that's chilling on my desk. And as soon as this podcast is over, he is going to be thrown outside into the cold, because I don't kill them. I'm a nice guy.
The cold will kill them.
Well, that's nature's choice, not mine.
Screw them things. Kill that thing.
I used to. I'm trying to not kill as many things as I used to. It's not nice.
They're like the modern day plague.
They're pretty fucking annoying. They used to be a lot worse. They're not as bad as this season as they were like 2 or 3 years ago. At least not around here.
Yeah. Travis, you have problems with those things? Stink bugs?
Thankfully, no.
Oh, you're lucky. These things are fucking.
They haven't made it over there yet.
It's like hard to concentrate. I'll be sitting here and getting really into the zone, editing something or writing something, and all of a sudden,
yeah, it's just like big, dumb. I don't know.
Fucking annoying piece of shit.
There's the story that actually we talked about this before the show started. It was Disney has something to do with Indiana Jones now.
They do. Previously, they did have their hands sort of in it, where when they bought Lucasfilms, they bought everything that's under the Lucasfilms umbrella. So they did have the rights to Indiana Jones as a franchise, but what they didn't have was the rights to distribute it as a movie. Somehow those rights were sold exclusively to Paramount Pictures. What they worked out now is that any future movies that they want to make, they're now allowed to distribute without having to work through Paramount. And that's great. Now Disney has full control over it in that sense. Paramount, however, is going to be retaining the rights to the first four movies, I should say. So they'll still be marketing all the DVDs for them. They'll still be getting all the money for that, and they'll still be able to do whatever they want to do with those movies. So if they want to make a special edition, say, that's still out of Disney's reach, unfortunately. But any future Indiana Jones things now, and that means that could be another movie, that could be a TV show, it could be whatever the heck they want to do with the character. That's all on them now. So, and a lot of people might want to call like, oh, this is terrible. Listen, Disney's been doing a fantastic job with every franchise they've got a hold with, so I'm not nervous at all.
This one's a tough one, though, because they screwed it up so bad with the last movie.
Yeah, that was Lucas, not Disney.
And, God, I hope they don't make Shia LaBeouf like the new Indiana Jones.
I'm pretty sure Shia LaBeouf is not working in this town anymore.
Oh, good.
that's a good thing. I never liked him.
Mm.
Man, that was it was so horrible. Like we were saying earlier, I think they should just leave the movie the way it was. If they want to reboot it, that's fine. You know, make it more modern, possibly.
No, because those movies are meant to have an old look to them.
Right. It's supposed to be a throwback to
World War II.
Yeah, it's supposed to be like a throwback to all those old movies in the 1940s and everything.
If they remade them, they would just become dumb action movies, and I would not like that. I'd rather just let it be. Make something new. If you want to make a new character, I mean, basically, we already got the reboot with fucking Brendan Fraser and the Mummy. That was the modern version of Indiana Jones with CG and action.
Yeah, but Disney's pretty good with like action-y films like that. Like look at what they did with the Avengers. I mean, that film was awesome. I think they could do something good with Indiana Jones.
Yeah, but Avengers is supposed to be like that. Indiana Jones is not.
I have to agree. Yeah, because when you look at Indiana Jones, I mean, yeah, it has some really great action sequences and everything. Avengers, that was just an action movie because it was wall-to-wall action. And with Indiana Jones, that wasn't the case.
No, Indiana Jones was more about the mystery and discovery and all that. That was more exciting. And then the action just like helped pick it up and make it more fun. But it wasn't about that. That wasn't what the movie was centered around ever.
I mean, did you guys see National Treasure?
Yeah, those were good too.
I mean, you see that? Yeah, they could make it kind of like that.
Or they could just make like National Treasure, or they could make something completely new. It doesn't need to be Indiana Jones.
I know.
That gave me an idea. What if they actually remade Indiana Jones and then they put Nicolas Cage as that character? Think about that.
Well, no, that I would be okay with. If that's what they want to do.
I would love to see that.
Oh boy. I don't know.
I'm trying to think of like a really iconic Indiana Jones line and then do it in a Nicolas Cage voice.
The snake thing from the first film.
Snakes. Why'd it have to be snakes?
I hate snakes. Motherfucking snakes on this motherfucking plane.
Oh, don't do that. That movie was trash. Yeah, I was trying to think of how Nicolas Cage would deliver that line. Snakes, I hate them. Jock, I told you I hate them.
Where are the snakes? Where are the snakes? Where are the snakes?
Oh, not the snakes! Not the snakes! Oh!
That's it.
I think we should film this movie. Disney, give us the rights.
That's why they got banned films.
Well, I'm out of stuff to talk about, guys. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I think we pretty much put this thing to bed.
Yeah. All right, Mike. So how you doing?
I'm doing all right. Just keep supporting everything that's going on here. Mega Powers Radio, megapowersradio.com, facebook.com/megapowersradio, and youtube.com/megapowersradio. Check out some of the other cool stuff that's going on right now. keepingkayfabe.com, fanboysanonymous.com, where you can find the archive version of this show and many other awesome stuff, as well as articles I'm writing and lots of other cool work that people I know and work with are doing. It's lots of fun. I'm tired. I'm sorry. You guys go ahead.
Travis, how you doing?
I'm doing all right. I'm feeling much better now. See, check out my YouTube channels, www.youtube.com/rosecoloredreviews. That's a show where I take a look at classic video games, television shows, and movies, and through rose-colored lenses, I see if they still stand the test of time. God damn, it's getting hard to say that now. And I got a sister channel called Rose Colored Let's Play, and that's where I play classic video games, commentate on them as I play them, and see if they're still worth playing today. And working on Skull Monkeys right there, and great game, and still trying to think what I'm going to do after that series, so stay tuned for that. And you can find me on Twitter, it's TravisGoss79. And you can also find me here every Tuesday night on Mega Powers Radio with Geek Speak. Love this show. And trying to think what else I have to plug. And you can find me on Facebook, www.facebook.com/rosecoloredreviews. And I'm still part of fanboysanonymous.com. All
righty. All right, folks, that's a show. Thank you for tuning in to Geek Speak Live. We are live every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. on megapowersradio.com. If you want to hear our archived versions of the show, please subscribe to our official Mega Powers Radio YouTube channel, at youtube.com/Mega Powers Radio. You could also subscribe to us on iTunes and Stitcher Radio. Please rate, review, and help us raise on the charts. And you can also find us on fanboysanonymous.com. And email. We also have an email, GeekSack at megapowersradio. Please leave us some messages, what you guys might want to hear, and have a good night, everybody.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass, and I'm all out of bubblegum.
I'm gonna make him an offer again.
Of the juggernaut, bitch!
It's not a tumor.
You're tearing me apart, Lisa! I have had it with these motherfucking snakes on this motherfucking plane!
2 chicks at the same time.
I am the law!
When you play the Game of Thrones, you win. You die.
Oh, no, not the beast! Not the beast! Ah!